Here on BrotherTV.com. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to our very first live taping of Brother TV. So give yourselves a round of applause. So today's episode is a very special episode. We're going to be talking about the book When Love Takes Over by Daren Erens. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, we want to open up with a trending topic.
All right, so there was an article that just came out, actually not last year, in the magazine Madame Noir by LaShawn Williams. And the title of the article is really interesting. It's 8 reasons why you should date a white man.
Yeah.
All right. And so I chose about 4 of these reasons because I thought they were really interesting to consider so we can talk about them, all right? And so the first reason she says in her article is that, and I also sort of modified a little bit because some of them were like, you know, really like geared towards, I gayified it. Anyway, so the first one is gay white men are more forthcoming with their sexuality.
I agree.
Thoughts?
I concur. I definitely have to agree. I feel as if when you're black and you're gay, it's a whole different experience. We are hit with, you know, we have to deal with dual identity. That's how I define it, as being dual identity. You know, today am I gonna wake up and have to deal with shit because I'm black, or today I'm gonna have to wake up and deal with shit because I'm gay? You know, I feel as if white men, a lot of times are more, gay white men especially, a lot of times are more accepted by the LGBTQ community and the mainstream gay community, but that's just my opinion.
And that's in comparison to other races, of course. I feel like everybody goes under like a sense of prejudice, just being in the lifestyle in general, whether it be that you're old, you're young, you're black, you're white, you're gay, you're straight, you're bi. But I feel like they do have a lot more forthcomingness, if that's a word. Because they're able to be this way. I mean, we recently spoke about Boys Town, where like the largest population there are white gay men, where they have so much privilege. So I check that off as accurate in my mind.
How do we change? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think that, you know, just going on with what Daren was saying, is that I think that speaking about privilege, I think that you go to like any really major gay area, like Christopher Street, Boys Town, P-Town, the Castro,
South
End, there is undoubtedly a white gay male presence. And so I think that part of that, even comfort level in the community, comes from not having to struggle, like lift up under rocks and do some serious research on like white gay men, because they're like all in your face, you know. Even speaking about like when the whole Matthew Shepard thing happened, which when he was murdered for being gay, brutally murdered, that happens so many times among communities of color.
Exactly.
But it's like seeing all of that. I think visibility is like a big piece. Like you have all this visibility and you have all this presence, all this provision, all this power, and there's a specific space for you.
Exactly.
I agree. All right, so the next one is white men usually come from stronger families. Black men are more likely to come from single mother homes, dysfunctional family, and so their views on romance and relationships are skewed. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't verbalize it the same way. I wouldn't say they come from a stronger family, because I personally believe there's nothing stronger than a single black mother, honestly. I think that is ultimate strength. That's how I was raised. That's what I know. But I can say from a more fortified, a more grounded family, having a mother and a father in the household, I would say that portion would make it accurate. But I wouldn't say it's a stronger family at all.
I agree.
Anyone else? And I think me, personally speaking, I grew up in a single mother home, and I think that, at least in my situation, I think that in my situation, I can see where it's coming from when you consider the fact that a lot of black men these days, a lot of single homes happen because the father is in jail, or the father just didn't want to be around to claim responsibility. That's my story, I didn't grow up with a father in the home, and so my mom is a single mother growing up, seeing her struggle, seeing all the things that she had to go through. I think that for me, I think it sort of affected me in a sense of always wondering, always not having that sort of male, and also growing up in a house of women, also sort of affected how I connect and how I, growing up, really related to like other men in the house.
How so?
Or in general.
How so growing up with women affected you differently?
Because I think that when I grew up, all I saw around me were negative images of black men, whether it was like who my sisters were dating and hearing sort of that one-sided story. I mean, not to say that they're wrong, but hearing that, black men are dogs and blah, 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 and sort of that whole spiel.
Based off what you hear.
Exactly, and so that's what I learned growing up, that whole image, and sort of seeing it in front of my eyes with those dynamics.
I mean, so then my question to you then is, how does it affect dating? How does it affect, in just having that point, that we don't come from strong families, we don't know how to romance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Has that affected you when it comes to dating?
Initially it did, because I think that because of all those images that I grew up seeing, initially I wasn't attracted to black men at all, because that's all I heard. I mean, my sisters...
You tend to go with the opposite of what you hear and then...
And so, I mean, I think that nowadays it's sort of shifted, but initially that was how I felt about.
I mean, I know that we had this conversation before, and we talked about this a little. I had to like look and reflect on myself and on my life when it comes to dating. I realized that I tend not to be very attracted to very masculine black men. If I'm attracted to a white guy, it tends to be a lot more masculine guy, but if it's a black guy, it tends to be a lot more of a feminine man. And I feel as if it has to do with my upbringing. It has to do with my relationship with my father. It has to do with my relationship with my parents. I agree that we tend to want to date people who are like our mothers. I tend to look for those sort of qualities. You bitch.
I strongly disagree. And for the fact that you said, what was your last point? You said, what did you just say?
You just want to disagree with me.
He looks for a guy qualities of his mother.
No, why don't you date more masculine men because they're black? Are you like scared of them, or
no.
you think that they're gonna like rob you or something?
Oh, that's
prejudice. No, because some people think certain things. Do you think that they might rob you? Do you feel like you'll be able to protect yourself against a more feminine man or woman?
No. I honestly, for me, it has a lot to do with. I like to look for especially when I'm dealing with like black guys. I like to look for guys who have those certain qualities that I saw my mother, and this is something that's more recent to me. This is something that's a lot more recent to me that I'm just now coming to realize about myself. Like again, when dating or like looking and being attracted to people, I a lot of times tend to be attracted to either very masculine white men or very feminine black men. And I just feel like it has to do with, my relationship with my father. My relationship with my mother and my father.
So which one is the mother and which one is the father? The black feminine man or the white masculine? I'm confused. I'm sorry. I really don't think it has anything to do with any of that.
Is that prejudice?
I believe that no, it's not being prejudiced, but I don't understand
yeah, it's not being prejudiced.
I just don't understand that.
It's not being prejudiced.
No. I would like for you to, maybe you just can't explain it. I don't know, but.
No, it's something that I'm just realizing, but it goes back to what you were saying. Like, you never had those examples of very, a good example of a black man.
The Cosbys.
And I think you associate
the Cosbys.
You associate those images, and I think that attraction.
You can read books. You're a very intelligent man. You can read books. There's television. They have the Black Power Rangers.
He's talking about his upbringing.
But it's what you experience.
The Black Rangers.
But people grow up watching TV. People always talk about.
Hang it up.
Name another one besides the Cosby Show.
The Green Lantern, I believe, was black.
The Green Lantern was black.
It's a lot of black important figures that you can look up to. You don't have to just look up the stuff in your home just because you're around drugs. Something like. Does that mean that you're going to turn to drugs?
No, but what I'm saying is in my upbringing, what I said was in my upbringing,
yes.
A lot of times when dating now as an adult man, if I find myself attracted to black men, it's a lot of times I'm looking at there's certain things that I saw in my mother that I'm looking for in him. I don't know why it is that way, but that's how it's been. Point blank period. Okay, that's it.
That's your opinion. I can't fight that.
All right,
Exactly.
so let's go to the next question.
Next question.
All right, next example.
Now.
Okay, so this one says, black men tend to spend more money than they have.
Exactly. No, that's people in general.
White
Hold on,
men-
that's right.
Let me finish the question.
They don't got the black card.
That's people in general.
White men generally come from families that invest, they're taught to invest. They sort of value the whole concept of saving money.
No, people
Is
in
that true?
general. But I don't
doesn't
agree.
this
Where
go
did
back?
you get? I don't understand it. What?
Doesn't this
So
go back-
basically, white men.
Saved it. So
Learn
white
to
men
save,
are
and
like
black men-
perfect, and black men just do everything wrong.
But let's go back to when we were talking about stereotypes.
Yeah, this is nothing but a stereotype. This is nothing but a stereotype.
Stereotypes.
Agree.
We're just touching base on them. What I feel it's really trying to say is that white men are more financially stable and black men are broke. True or false?
No, people are
I
broke.
think it's false. I think everybody's broke.
Everyone's broke. Definitely, people are broke.
Everybody not broke, but I understand where you're going.
I'll have to say this because I think that me growing up, I had to teach myself how to invest and save money. Growing up in my family, no one taught me to, okay, you have to save your money, this is how you invest, this is a 401k plan, this is that. No one taught me that. Going to college, it was commonplace. Like, I went to a predominantly white college in the Midwest, and it just seemed like it was like the norm. Like, oh, you don't know this? Doesn't everybody know that you're supposed to do this? Doesn't everybody know this? That wasn't my experience. That wasn't my story. So for me, it was true that even going into my family, like, there wasn't that sense of like how to invest.
Saving and investing.
It's all about like my pockets are burning.
Holes in them.
Hold on. I know, right? So the last one is, and I added this question because the last question was really sort of like black women, white men, and so it didn't really fit. But I think we talked about it. We all agree that this could definitely speak to the fact of why we should consider at least dating white men, and that is dating black men can be too incestuous. Now, what we're talking about, the example of everybody knows somebody that's been around the blocks several times.
Gays in general.
And so
know somebody that knows somebody and did something with somebody that did something.
Or know of somebody. How about that? Or know of somebody. And so basically it was, okay, dating black men, dating other black men. You have to sometimes even ask, if you're feeling somebody, hey, I'm feeling this person, do you know this person? So what happens when the person that you know said, oh, well, I do know them, he sucked my dick a couple years ago. What do you do? Are you...
Is this my friend or is this somebody just like
It's your friend.
He's not my best friend. He's obviously like my friend. Like, do you know this person? I don't know. I would be like,
What if it's your best friend?
I know my best friend business. I don't know how people do their best friends, but me and my
Okay, just a general friend then.
A general friend, I would be like, well, do you still like him? Because I really like this person. So do I stop because you didn't have sex with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, literally, in Boston, Providence area? No. I'm not going to do that.
Oh,
you wouldn't.
I concur.
I disagree. I think you're lying. I think if you met somebody that you really liked and your friend was like, I did something with them a long time ago, but it was nothing, it was just random, you would just stop everything. And like, say if you really
They've had
like
like
this,
full-blown sex.
No, we just said like a blowjob. You gave the example of like a blowjob.
But
that's an example.
I would be uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable.
I would be uncomfortable too. For me, I can't.
I don't know. I feel like
I can't do it. I mean, it's like, how do you even have that?
It's not your best friend though.
No, but it depends on one. I want to say two things. Because you and this coming from me, bitch. Listen, it's two things. It's definitely two things. It depends on what type of friend this is to me.
Yes.
Like if it's like whatever, a friend. But if it's like my best friend, like if somebody tells me that, like if I would just be uncomfortable. Like if he's like, oh, we did this, and I'm like, okay, hang it up.
But your best friend you should automatically know, and I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But what if your best friend is a whore?
Type of person. Like
that's a good question. I don't know.
If your best friend is a whore, does that mean you don't talk to anybody in the area because he sucked this, licked that? No. Seriously. Seriously.
People do run out of options. Everything's recycled.
Everything is recycled. Nothing is
Everything
new.
is recycled.
I'm sure you're recycled. I'm sure a lot of people.
Never
No, recycle don't mean a whole lot. Recycle means one person to two people. I'm not saying you're recycled like that. I'm not trying to say you're a whore or anything like that. I'm not leading to that.
Okay. Just making sure.
I'm just saying everybody is recycled in one way, shape. Yeah.
But you know, you gotta look back, and I remember this being told to me like way back when. Like when you have sex with someone, you have sex with everyone they had sex with, and then you have sex with everyone they had sex with, who had sex with, they had sex with.
So your best friend.
So that means that if you have sex with someone,
no, I did not have sex with my best friend. I had sex with the same person my best friend. It's a believe you me, it's a big difference.
No, you had sex with your best friend.
No.
well,
Sex is physical. I ain't have sex with my best friend.
You had sex with your best friend. Yes, you did.
okay, well. Anyways, and that concludes trending topics.
So that concludes trending topics, you guys. And let's take this opportunity to remember to add us on Facebook, facebook.com/BrotherhoodTV, Twitter, twitter.com/BrotherhoodTV, and make sure you tune in every Monday for brand new episodes of Brotherhood TV, only here on BrotherhoodTV.com. We'll be right back, you guys.
Now, what?
So, welcome back to Brotherhood TV, only here on BrotherhoodTV.com. So we're gonna hop right back into our August book selection, which was When Love Takes Over by Daren Erens. So we have a few questions that we want to pose just to the general panel based on the book. So really quick synopsis on the book. It's a lot of different stories, a lot of different short stories and about the relationships between two individuals in each excerpt pretty much.
18 stories.
I'm sorry?
It's 18 stories.
So it's 18 stories. But it's a celebration of SGL couples of color. So it's really great. We all had a chance to read it, and we're going to go into some questions about it. And of course, I'm going to start. So in this book, there's a couple by the name of Christopher and Shelton. And in their story, they became friends before they became lovers. So the question I want to pose is, could you guys find yourselves dating a friend or becoming a lover from a friend?
A friend, not a best friend.
See, that's
technicalities.
Hard. Yeah, it's the technicalities. Okay, answer it with both. Is a friend and a best friend. Could you see yourself dating your best friend?
No.
Why?
That's like my brother. When I call you my best friend, you're like my brother. You're my family member. I would never date my brother.
Without sex. That's how I look at it.
No, it's my brother.
Your best friend is your lover without sex. That's how it should be.
I think it is. It definitely like.
Once you had sex with in a relationship.
I couldn't date I couldn't date my best friend. I couldn't date my best friend.
Yeah.
I feel like the relationship is so strong for us as best friends that I wouldn't want to complicate it.
It could mess it up.
Yeah, mess it up, and I just don't want the drama and like, it's the extra shit.
So will you date a regular friend?
I think it all depends on the relationship.
Yeah, so like, what's the relationship between us?
It's
a relationship between us. I don't know. It definitely is a relationship between us. That's like, can I date a best friend? Or a friend, period.
I could not date a best friend. I just think that I just see that type of relationship so like James was saying, so platonic, so brotherly like. It just feels kind of like incest almost. Or sisterly. Whatever you prefer.
We don't judge.
But also, I think for a friend, I think that a healthy relationship should start as a friendship. So I think sometimes it can happen. I'm open to the fact of a friend connection, getting to know them, hang out with them, and all of a sudden something sparks.
Exactly.
I'm open to that.
No, but I definitely couldn't. But something that was important, like you said, Christopher and Shelton started off as just strictly being friends, and it evolved into that. But to reference the question, I don't know. I couldn't date a friend. It does depend on what exactly is our relationship, and what are the circumstances. James has something to say. Say, James.
No, I'm listening.
I have something to say too. Well, I would say that like the basis of any relationship should be a friendship, because when shit starts to hit the fan, and you guys don't really even like each other like that, like you guys just like each other like each other, but you guys really don't like each other like you couldn't be like, oh, let's go to the movies because you're my homeboy. You don't have that foundation, and when you don't have that foundation, like it's really hard to recover from like downfalls and like issues and tumultuous things in a relationship.
Some people don't really take enough time to actually get to know each other.
Yeah.
Well, can I read my question about it's about Christopher? Oh, I'm sorry, I was. I want to read my question about Christopher and Shelton. Well, Shelton basically in the book stuck around while Christopher was basically going through his come out process. And the question I want to pose to you guys is: would you stick around, or would you be in a relationship with someone that didn't come out the closet?
That wasn't out of the closet?
No.
At this point in time, no.
Not at this point, not at that point, no. No. Period.
I would say I could. And I think I have to preface it by saying it's one thing for someone to date somebody that's not in the closet, has no intention of coming out of the closet, and is in complete denial.
It's a trap. Don't do it.
Right. That's that situation.
That's what you call a booty
but it's a
bandit.
different situation if somebody is not in the closet for very real reasons that I'm sure everyone can relate to. It's very challenging. And so I think that if the person understands that, has accepted themselves, just hasn't came out to their family, whatever the case might be, I could do that. Why? Because I was personally in a situation like that. And part of my whole coming out ultimately was because I was with somebody that was out, that sort of debunked some of those myths that I believed about coming out, that you lose everything, that this happens, that happens. So he was part of my coming out process.
I mean, if someone's in the process and wants to come out, that's different. I can stay around with someone who wants to come out. But as an adult man, I'm not sitting up in your closet with you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, back when you're 16 and you're thinking
I'm not playing the game. Yeah.
And that's not what I'm willing to do either. I'm not willing to, I'm gonna pretend.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically what you're gonna do. You can't really go out
not
to
really
places.
Because, no.
Well, you can't really go out to certain
We're
places.
gonna go out and we're gonna be friends.
But what if he's out with his friends? He's gonna be like, well. But what if you're boyfriend and boyfriend and he's in the closet? So when he go around his friends, if you ever meet his
what
friends,
is he walking behind me and stuff?
They'll be like, oh, that's my friend.
You don't have to say friend.
What do we say then?
So we
You
just
can say call him by their name.
That's my boyfriend.
That's my.
I work too hard for this. This is my boyfriend.
This is my lover. You about to go home.
This is my lover.
So if you was in that situation where you was with somebody, you're not out to certain people for obvious reasons. You have not come out to your family, and you guys are together, and your family comes by. What are you gonna say? This is my boyfriend.
This is my boyfriend. Wake up.
Okay.
I would say one really quick thing is I feel like when you're in a relationship like that, you kind of put like an expiration date on your relationship. You're kind of like, this is gonna go on until ... You know, and then after that, it's nothing. Not only after, you have to like set yourself up. You have to like psych yourself out for like, oh, it's definitely gonna happen. Oh, we're definitely gonna be happy. And it's like, you spend so much time psyching yourself out, you're gonna have no energy for when it actually does happen, if it ever does happen.
Exactly.
But there's some people that are out of the closet, but are not out of the closet. Like, oh, I'm gay, but are not ready to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, to come on TV and say I'm gay.
Or
I'm gay and I can go anywhere I want. And I'll be like, I'm gay. I'm gay. I'm gay. Some people will be like, oh, I'm gay, but I'm only gay, on Saturdays. To a few friends, but I'm not in the closet. So no.
My mom and dad only.
I think the other thing too is that there's other identities involved. It's not just the whole gay thing. I think that this person that you could be dating with could have some type of disconnect with just their culture or their race. So I mean, why or how does that sort of factor in? We can date somebody that's openly gay, but just completely, completely just disconnected.
Like, I wouldn't date a bisexual man. I just wouldn't. It's not my preference. I just wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't date? Would you do anything with a bisexual man?
That's different.
That's different.
I'm just asking.
Because I feel like in that
because then it's just
you
physical.
It's physical.
no feelings.
Yeah,
attached.
but we're talking about dating.
So you did okay? I was just wondering. I'm sorry.
All right, call me out.
So something that stood out to me in Curtis and Derek's story was the fact that they have a very strong relationship with God. And to quote Curtis exactly, said, "We are equally yoked," and that's surprising sometimes. So would you possibly date whatever your religion is? Could you date someone that's outside of your religion? Would you date someone that was atheist? What about you? What do you think?
Yes.
As long as he loves me unconditionally. And doesn't try to make me transform. Like, I'm not going to be wearing saris. I'm not going to be doing no atheists. I don't even know what atheists do. I'm not going to be doing none of that. Just leave me be and I'll leave you be.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we don't have to spend every Sunday together like in a temple.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I could not.
I can't go to church.
Atheist. I couldn't.
I mean,
Could you date? What are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm a Christian.
So you wouldn't date like a Jewish person or
Muslim.
Ooh.
You know what? In thinking about that, and this is how I'm going to answer that question.
with a
It
yes
depends
or no?
on. Listen. It depends on what sort of relationship is this. Like, are we just like dating and like playing around, like all that extra stuff? But is this something that we're gonna take serious and that we're gonna build a future with? If like, are we talking about having kids and stuff, or what sort of religion are we gonna be going back and forth with? That's why I could not date a person who, one, is an atheist, or two, probably like I couldn't see myself dating a Jewish person.
I could date somebody out of my religion. I identify as a Christian. I think that the church and Christendom has done so wrong to like our community. I completely understand why you would never want to go to a church ever again, ever. You know, between like exorcisms, between like the preachers sending us to hell over the pulpits and being hypocrites and, you know, pedophile, between all of those things, I can see why, you know, and so I respect that decision.
Churches. You
I
go
respect
to
that
synagogue
decision.
and they touch boys too, and all this stuff like that. I don't want it to just be Christian.
I respect that decision. I said no. I'm saying I respect that decision. If you just decide to go, I think that for me, the person needs to be spiritual.
Yes.
Definitely.
I think they need to go to
Doesn't mean you need to change yourself.
I feel like,
I don't think that's what it's about.
In thinking about it though, like I feel like it'll start to become very complicated. Because you imagine he wants to go out on a Wednesday night, but you want to go to Bible study. You know, I think he's gonna want to feel some way about that.
Why are you following me?
It's about respect.
Go do what you gotta do, and I'll do what I gotta do.
You have to live
You don't
separate
go to
lives.
Bible study.
I'm raising. Isn't it?
So why are you even talking about it? You would. So you telling me, oh, I'm not gonna date you because one day I might go to Bible study and you want to go out to the synagogue.
I'm saying it could become complicated. That's all I'm saying. It could become complicated.
A lot of things could be complicated.
Like what?
Anything.
Like
Closet.
Yeah, that's true.
That could definitely be complicated.
It is.
All right, so moving on. So one thing about DeAndre and Quincy's story that stood out to me is that, so I'm gonna read a quote that Q said about love and how he defines love. And I want to get a feel for what you guys feel about this quote I'm about to read. Okay, all right. So he says, love is not the basis of a relationship. I can love him to death, but if I don't respect his feelings, or I am unable to set aside my own selfishness, then the relationship is doomed. People put so much on love. I am certain that many men love their mates and continue to hurt them because they lack the other important ingredients. What do you guys think about this statement?
I agree.
I agree.
12,000% I agree.
You can love someone but still hurt them.
How? How do you love someone in? Hold on.
Hold on. There we go.
Okay, hold on.
How you interpret it?
Like I told you before.
No. Okay, question
Push your
then.
legs.
Okay, so he hits you. Does he love you?
But
We don't have to show his
It doesn't need to be
affection.
physical.
I don't know how he shows his affection. Maybe he's a
That's
physical kind of
affection.
guy.
James,
Maybe
that's
I
affection.
like being hit.
Hey, really?
You don't know. You don't know.
affection.
Like when,
That's
okay, like with your parents.
You get a
Your
bloody
mother
nut?
may beat you, but she loves you. I need to show
That's
you.
different, James.
That's different.
It's
That's
different.
different.
It's different because it's like I know best for you. I know best for you. So he probably like I know best for you, and you don't listen. So I just want to hit you. And some people can't control it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love you. If you go upside your head, oh, I don't love you no more. I love you, but I had to hit you.
I agree. Hold on.
I'm not saying it's right at all.
You
I'm
got
sorry.
very passionate about that,
I agree.
right?
I agree with that quote. For me, I believe respect comes before everything.
Yes.
It comes before everything.
Yes.
A person that respects you is not going to hit you. A person that respects you,
What's your
we
definition of
automatically
respect?
jumped into
Some
physical.
people like to be beat. There's masochists. There's people and
Really, that's sexual.
Yeah, that's sexual. We're
SMS,
talking about
whatever it's
him.
called,
We're talking about.
SMS.
Listen, we're talking about
Whatever
him
it's
going up. We're talking about him going up your head. Like you guys have an argument.
I think we were talking about something else.
I'm not trying to be mean. No, go ahead.
No, sorry, but
Go ahead.
I just believe a person that loves you is not going to do things to hurt you.
That's your
They're
definition.
intentionally, like
Some
beating
people are
you,
blinded,
cheating on you.
Intentionally.
Obviously, they're not going to be intentionally doing that. So I'm sorry, like you honestly say that if a guy hits you, some people may dislike it, but if a guy hits you in an argument that
I'm gonna hit him back, but he may still love me. He may love me, but he felt like he needed to lay hands on me.
And it might not have been a conscious action.
Yeah, some people just like, and there it goes.
Really? Okay.
Pop go to Weasel.
That's my side of the bed.
So what I feel about this statement is that, like, I feel like you can ask like a whole bunch of people, well, how do you define love? Because first of all, to define what love is, I think if we ask everybody at this panel, we have different definitions of love. I think that for me, when I think of love, when I think about me saying I love you to somebody, it incorporates respect. It incorporates me wanting to make a sacrifice, me wanting to do what it takes to make this work. It also talks about being sort of selfless. Selfless. You know, I think that sort of, to me, when I hear love, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's sort of separating that it doesn't have to be the same thing. I agree, though. I think that, you know, people do have their definitions. People have their different ways of showing love. Some people might show love by like touching you or like showing affection. Other people might say, okay, all the bills are paid, that means I love you, etc., etc.
Hold on, backtrack, all the way backtrack.
Hold on.
No, listen. I'm sorry. I just gotta go back to this one time, please. If a man beats you, I'm sorry.
You still on that?
I'm on it still. I'm sorry. If a man hits you and beats the hell out of you.
In your world.
He likes it.
He has
I don't like that.
So you're telling me,
saying.
I want to ask you a question.
But what
so
about
you're in a
people
relationship? Nope. Question.
Why did we?
You're in a relationship.
They always jump to physical.
Why you would jump to physical? It's
Because that's the most important thing.
No,
if somebody cheating, I think cheating is worse than beating on.
But yeah, I agree.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, but I won't take
Cheating on me.
and then me dragging you through the house and beating the hell out of you.
You ain't gonna drag nobody over here. But you hitting me, like it's just like you feel like, okay, we need to go to Bulls. You actually went out, cheated on me, did something, and then who did you cheat on me with?
But is that a healthy relationship if we're going to Bulls and we're like beating each other?
It may not be healthy, but it doesn't mean that love's not
regardless, I feel that somebody can still love you if they hit you.
Can I say one thing really quickly?
Really?
I'm not saying this right.
Hold on. I want to put something so you guys might see it this way also. I gauge love on your relevance to my being. You know, and I think that that's how I gauge love. Like when I say I love somebody, they have a high relevance to my being as a whole. You know, like, and I feel like you said earlier, Ernest, like you said, when I think of love, I think of all these things that came in the quote afterwards. But I look at it like this. If that means that they have to be used interchangeably. That means it's a mirror. That means that like to love is to respect. That means to respect is to love. That's not necessarily true. So when I think of love, I think about how much do you mean to me as a whole, like my spirit, my being, my everything. And if it's up here in this bracket, then I love you. And if it's not, then I might be fond of you. It's down here, I really don't care for your life.
I mean,
but
I think
it's a gauge. It's a spectrum.
I think it goes back to the fact that saying love, I think love is subjective. I mean, to this person that may be abusive, that may have cheated, they still love you genuinely.
I disagree.
Again, but my personal definition.
And I believe respect comes before everything.
So this is all opinion. So I can't argue with you with your opinion.
Right there.
There you go.
Right there, baby.
Isn't that sweet?
I can say that I think your opinion is absolutely incorrect.
Really? But your opinion is
But
that
I will let you have
But
your
you're gonna
opinion.
tell me that
But I will let you
that
live
people can
with
get
your
their
opinion.
people get their ass whooped and dragged to the house. But that's okay because he still
And
loves
that's not okay.
He beats me down
And I
and still
just
loves
said
me.
ad nauseum
He beats
that it's not okay. It's never okay
But
to
he
hit
loves
someone.
you.
I don't care what
He
he
loves you and beats the shit out of you, and he loves you.
I'm not
It's
saying
not love to you, but it might be love to him. That's what I'm
It ain't
saying.
love to me.
I don't know,
It's love
James.
to somebody
I don't know what
else.
you're carrying
All
on with,
right.
James, but I'll go with it, James.
Dylan, don't you have a question?
Go ahead, James.
I think I do. Okay, so I'm gonna touch base on Doug and Gregory. They were together for 12 years, and they have a 21-year-old difference.
Have been together, yeah.
Yeah, they have been together for 12 years, and they have a 21-year-old difference. Now, the question that was raised was, does that raise the purpose that age is nothing but a number true?
True.
Okay.
I think it depends, because sometimes it can take up to a year, it can take up to 12 years or more for you to actually take the toll on that. I think eventually it will. The age difference, you want to still go out and party while I want to read a Bible at home. I don't know, whatever you want to do.
Everybody young doesn't want to party.
That was an example.
Example.
Example? Oh, okay.
Example.
So So one of the things.
So could you give me a valid example?
What was the age difference again?
21 years.
No.
21 years is not that much.
No. What were the ages? You gotta think about what the bracket is, because 4 years is not a lot, but when it's 14 and 18, it's something.
I don't.
Well, they got together when Gregory was 16.
16,
In some
and
states,
then
it's
21
legal.
after 16 is 37.
That's no.
16 to 37.
Some people are mature and some
16
people
and
are
37.
immature.
No, age 21 year difference is that's very like when I read their portion, okay. Doug is 56 and Gregory is 29. 21 year difference, so that means they met, I think he was 17. In it says that they met downtown and that Gregory was 17 at the time and Doug told him to come back when he was 18.
But didn't they hang out in between those?
Yeah,
16?
they hung out and stuff, but they
didn't do anything?
It doesn't say they did anything.
So what's the big problem with age? Why does it matter?
For me, in reading that selection in the book, it just was one of those things where it's like, I agree. Like, you know, when we are at certain ages, we're in just completely two different places in our life.
One of the things that was said, I can't remember who was the youngest one. Gregory's the youngest.
Yeah.
Gregory mentioned that he was an old soul, and so the connection, the level of maturity they were very much compatible. Mm-hmm. Now, I personally believe that it can work. I mean, I think that if both parties are completely okay, completely comfortable with the age difference, that's one thing. I think that there's things on both sides that can sort of be a distraction, can sabotage. There's definitely stereotypes. Young men, they don't know what they want. They want to sow the royal oats, whatever the case might be. Older men set in their ways, control, whatever the case might be. If you pass all that, if that's not the case, I don't see how or why that shouldn't work. I mean, I know people that have been in relationships with people their own age, and it didn't last as long as some of the people that I've dated.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think age is.
I think, see, this is the thing is that it's a huge difference. A year, 2 years, 3 years, upwards 10 years. But I don't know, for me, 21 years is just a huge number.
He's somebody's father.
Basically.
He could have bore him.
No, but I don't knock anyone's love. I'm very happy for them. They've been together for 12 years. Most of us can't stay in a relationship longer than 6 months. So, I mean, whatever. So, I'm very happy for them. Nonetheless, but for me, this is my opinion.
I think it will work.
So, that's going to wrap our discussion on the book. At this point now, we are going to show you the interview with Daren Erens that we did. So, we'll be right back, you guys. So hey Daren, and welcome to Brotherhood TV.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So the first thing that I want to do is I know that When Love Takes Over the book is an offspring of a very popular series on your website, Living Out Loud with Darian, called Coupled Up. Where did the inspiration for Coupled Up come from?
Actually, the inspiration came from just a lack of LGBT people of color in the mainstream as well as the gay press. When I would look through magazines and newspapers, I didn't see anything that really reflected my life or my experience or the experience that I have with my partner. So I thought it was time that, being that I had a platform, that I just provide a space to showcase couples who are in committed long-term relationships, because we don't get a chance to see it very often. Awesome.
And just being part of the community, like you mean, just going on what you're saying right now, just the rarity of seeing two black gay men, two men of color together some of the couples have been together like over 20 years.
Correct.
How was it easy to find these people? I mean, can you talk a little bit about that process of finding these couples?
You know what? It was rather easy for me, and you would think that it would have been hard because we don't see them in the media. We just assume that they're not there, that they don't exist, or they're not visible.
Right.
But I have an extensive network of Facebook friends, and that was the first place where I started to look.
Awesome.
And my very first couple for the Coupled Up series was actually a couple from Mobile, Alabama that was on my friends list. And I reached out to them and asked them if they wanted to participate, and they agreed, and it kind of just blew up from there. I started getting requests from all types of couples from across the country and as far away as London wanting to participate in the series. So it was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Wow.
So my next question is, what was the reaction when Coupled Up series had came out and you posted it on the blog? Like, what was the reaction from people?
My God, the response right away was overwhelmingly positive. I got a lot of emails and a lot of comments on the blog from people saying, thank you so much. This is so long overdue. It's giving me hope. I now believe that it's possible for me to have a relationship because I see these beautiful examples of couples who have been together for upwards of 20 years and are making it work. So it was great. I knew at that moment that I was doing something positive, that it was having a positive effect on people's lives, and that, you know, I was moving in the right direction.
Now, can you recall that moment, that moment of revelation, of epiphany, that when you decided, okay, we're doing the blogs, the Coupled Up blogs, now we got to turn this into something that I can distribute. We got to turn it into when love takes over. Do you recall that moment?
Yeah, of course. You know, that's a really good question, because actually the readers demanded that I turn the series into a book format. Initially, it was something that I was really apprehensive about doing because I had never attempted to write a book before. And there was a lot of fear surrounding writing my first book. I had been putting it off for a while, but once I saw how the series took off, I said, you know, this is something that could really have a positive effect on so many people, especially in the Black LGBT community where, as I said before, we don't see very many positive examples of couples who are both of the same race and the same gender in long-term relationships. So it was really the demand from our readers to go ahead and push the fear aside and create the book. But I have to tell you, there's this quote that I find myself saying in every interview for the book, that's by Toni Morrison, that I believe was really the catalyst for me to really sit down and start the process. Yeah. And the quote says, if there's a book that you want to read and it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Yes. So it was at that moment that I decided to stop complaining about not seeing those images and to just take matters into my own hands and create the book that I wanted to read.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So how was the process of taking it to editors and publishers? Did they jump on it immediately? What was the response from them? What were their thoughts?
You know, I actually had several publishers who were interested in publishing the book. In the end, I decided to go the self-publishing route because a lot of those publishers were moving at a snail's pace. And I seemed to be the only person that had a sense of urgency about getting the book out into the marketplace because I knew that there was an audience for this book. Right. And I knew that that audience was craving for these stories and these images. And I was not about to sit on this project for 2 years waiting for someone to publish it. So once again, I took matters into my own hands and I invested my own money and I self-published the book. And now it's out. Wow. And it took less than a year.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So when we made the announcement on our website that When Love Takes Over would be our first book selection, we got a letter. And I'm going to read a quote real quick from that letter. And so once your feedback, one response from you, what you would say to this viewer. So the letter in part said, as a gay man, I don't know about marriage and having a partner. I'm Christian and I go to church, and what I'm doing is wrong. I feel this is wrong. What was your response to this viewer?
Run. Get as far away from that church as you possibly can.
Amen.
This is very personal for me because I was born and raised in the South. I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. I went to church all of my young life, and I still continue to go to church as an adult. But I refuse to sit in any congregation where I'm damned to hell for being who I am.
Yes.
And affirming who I am and embracing who I am, that is not the congregation for me. And I personally don't believe that you can grow spiritually if you're being condemned Sunday after Sunday.
Right.
There is no reason why you should go to church to get your behind beat.
Right.
Really, there isn't. And it comes down to spiritual abuse. I will not go to a sanctuary where I'm being spiritually abused Sunday after Sunday. Now, if you think that being gay is wrong, I'm not here to change your opinion about that. Your walk with Christ is your walk, just like my walk with Christ is my walk. Yes. But I just happen to have a difference of opinion when it comes to Scripture. My interpretation is different. And I would just encourage that reader to really dig deep into the Word, study the Scripture for yourself, to show yourself approved, instead of relying on what man is dictating. Instead of relying on what man is saying to you from the pulpit. It's just not enough to be spoon-fed the Word. I encourage you to go and find out exactly why that scripture in Leviticus was written, the context, the people that it was written for, and you might have a change of mind. You might see the scripture differently and the spirit of the word differently. So I would just say, study for yourself and know that your life is not a mistake. And just because you're gay does not mean that you don't deserve a life of happiness, that you don't deserve a partner, because you do, and you can have all of those things. It's attainable.
Wow, thank you. So in reading the book, some things that I took back immediately was, the importance of respect, communication, selflessness, among other things. What are the things that you learned from these couples that you use in your own relationship?
Communication is key, and that's something that I noticed from all of the couples. It was something that they all said was an integral part of their relationship. Without solid communication, your relationship will fail. And that's something that I'm constantly working on in my own relationship, because you have two different people, two different backgrounds coming together as one. So I think it's important from day one that you sit down and you have real conversations about your future, what you guys both want individually. When it comes to sex, that you actually sit down and you have a conversation about those things. So communication being key.
Now, was there anything in your interviewing all these couples that surprised you at all?
Yeah, one thing they all seem to have in common was date nights. In the beginning of a relationship, it's very common to go on dates, to open doors, to pull out the chair for your partner, to do all those things in order to woo them. But it shouldn't stop after the first month. Mm-hmm. You've got to continue to date each other the longer that you've been together in order to keep the relationship fresh. And that's something that my partner and I actually believe in doing a lot. And I was just telling him the other day, we've been together for a year now, and it seems like I'm more in love with him now, a year later, than I was in the beginning. And I think that's because we're constantly communicating with each other. And sometimes there are some misses. We don't always agree. Sometimes we agree to disagree, but we believe in keeping that line of communication open and continuing to date each other.
Wow. Congratulations, by the way. I just want to say congratulations. So my next question is, with the recent CDC report about the surge in HIV infections among young Black gay men, how important do you feel it is for affirming SGL couples to really take a step forward?
Oh, I think it's extremely important. For the simple reason, we're always talking about condoms as a preventative tool, but I very rarely ever hear anyone saying that being in a committed monogamous relationship can also be a preventative measure. Now, granted, just because you're in a monogamous relationship doesn't mean that it doesn't open up the window for HIV or STDs, especially if one partner is not being completely faithful. So again, it goes back to communication. You've got to constantly communicate with your partner, your needs, your desires, your wants. And the sad thing about the recent CDC data is that a lot of Black gay men are unaware of their status. Right. So even in a relationship or your friends, just like we get together and we get dressed up and we go to the club and we hang out, we've got to have each other's back. And we've got to say, hey, when was the last time you were tested? Let's go get tested together. Mm-hmm. I think things like that need to happen more often.
Definitely.
Now, throughout this entire process of writing the book and the sense of urgency and everything that you had to overcome to ultimately write this book, what did you learn about yourself?
Oh, I would have to say that the desire to celebrate who we are as Black gay men far exceeds the fear that I experienced in the beginning stages of writing this book. I've learned that this project is bigger than Darian. It's not about me. I've totally removed myself from it. It's about those men who need, and women, who need to see affirming images and messages of who we are. For once, I wanted to produce something that celebrated our totality instead of denigrating who we are. So often in the media, we're attached to the down low, we are attached to all of these predatory things, but I never see anybody celebrating the beauty of who we are at our core. So that's what this book is. And I learned that I don't have to wait on the other so-called Black gay leaders to do it. I have a voice, and it's up to me to utilize it. And I just chose to do that.
Thank you. So my question now is, for the men who are watching that don't believe love is a possibility, what do you want to tell them?
I want to tell them that it is. No matter what you have gone through, no matter how many bad experiences you've had dating, I truly believe, and maybe this is just me being a hopeless romantic, that there is someone out there for everybody. And I've had some pretty bad dating experiences in my life to the point where I could be bitter and jaded right now. When my partner arrived in my life, I could have easily turned him away and said, no, thank you. But I believe that I'm worthy, and I believe that I'm capable of being loved and loving someone in return. And I think that's where it begins. We just have to know that we are worthy, and being Black and gay does not stop us from achieving what everyone else has, regardless of sexual orientation. You can have it. If you want it, it's achievable.
So now, this is where the fun begins right here really quickly, because something that me and you have in common is our complete love and adoration of
Janet.
Everything Janet Jackson. Yes, of everything Janet Jackson. So now, we're going to play this little game called This or That. Alright? So I have a few either ors. You can tell me which one you prefer. Do not think about it. Quick.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
So, the Janet album or Rhythm Nation?
Oh, the Janet album.
Okay, tell me is there a favorite song on the Janet album?
Oh, that's a hard one, Amir. I would have to say If, just because the choreography and the video was just so epic. So when I think about the Janet album, If is the first track that comes to mind.
Wow. Okay, so then my next question is, That's the Way Love Goes or The Body That Loves You?
That's the way love goes. Because now see, you got me talking about Janet. Now I can go on for days. That's the way love goes because that was the first single off the album when it dropped in '93, and no one expected her to just slide in with a smooth groove. We were all expecting the big production number, and she gave us That's the Way Love Goes, and it was a #1 single.
Wow. So then I have the question of, let's go with Control of the Velvet Rope album.
Ooh, Velvet Rope. Control was groundbreaking, but the Velvet Rope, you know, she was going through that whole depression stage, and you know, that's when artists really create some magic when they're going through things in their lives, and the Velvet Rope was that album.
Everything. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So then my last question is, now, you have to think hard about this.
Okay.
Now, the breakdown in the Scream video, who ate? Michael or Janet?
You know, when you really are trying to get me to act a fool during this interview with all these Janet questions. Okay, Michael or Janet? Oh. I can't answer that. I cannot answer that. Janet.
I agree. I agree. So that concludes my Janet questions.
All right, so we have one final question to close the interview out. And it's simply, what is next for Daren Erens?
What is next? Well, I'm about to embark on a little mini book tour. I'm actually going to launch the book tour here in Atlanta on August 30th at Outright Bookstore. It is our local gay bookstore here in Midtown Atlanta on August 30th at 7:30. And I'll also be making some stops in New York, Nashville, and Philadelphia. That's on the schedule right now. And I also have a short story in Keith Boykin's next gay anthology for colored boys who have considered suicide when the rainbow wasn't enough. And that should be out next March, so look for that.
Amazing. I really would like to take this opportunity to thank you so much for joining us on Brotherhood TV. I also want to take this opportunity to thank you for all your support.
Yes.
I want to say thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
I salute you for everything. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and I'm so extremely proud of the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for creating Brotherhood TV. It is much needed. And thank you for just stepping up to the plate.
Thank you. Thank
Being
you
a voice for the voiceless.
Thank you. And tell the hubby we said hello. Send him my love. Send him my love. And thank you so much again.
My pleasure.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you again for tuning in. We just wanted to show one more time our book selection for August. When Love Takes Over, a celebration of SGL couples of color by Darian Erens. We just also want to give another push for the book. I think that, me personally, I think that there's so rare to see people of color, men of color, being together longer than a month, longer than a year. But some of the men in this book have been together for over 20 years. 2 black gay men together, come on now, over 20 years. That's something that we don't see in our community, and I think that this is exactly why we should get this book, because there's a lot of vital information about how to have a healthy relationship. What does it take to be together for over 20 years in a relationship? All these different things in this book, When Love Takes Over. So with that being said, we want to thank you guys once again for tuning in to Brotherhood TV, only on brotherhoodtv.com. And Chris is going to give us a little bit more information.
So again, just jumping off what Ernest said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Brotherhood TV, only here on brotherhoodtv.com. Again, remember, if you have any Dear Brother letters, you can email them to letstalk@brotherhoodtv.com. You can also email any of us, any questions you have, any comments you have, make sure you tune in. And the best way to support is by sharing videos. The best way to support is by telling a friend to join us on Facebook and on Twitter, and definitely spread the word. So again, I want to thank Daren Erens for all his support since day one for Brotherhood TV. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. So see you guys later.